up on the board, you can see that we have a picture, and we're going to deal with like a moss. Okay, what you have here, folks, is we're going to talk about some terms like gametophyte, sporophyte. Okay, you did these in your notes yesterday. Okay, so we're going to talk, and here is just a simple picture of a diagram that we're going to deal with today in like a moss and get some labels to our diagram. So when I click to the next slide here, this looks similar to what you have in your interactive notebook. Okay, so we are going to label some different parts. Now, yesterday you talked about the life cycle, correct? The life cycle of a non-vascular plant. So flip your book back one page. You should have a top bottom. Okay? Who can tell me what is a gametophyte? Okay? What is a gametophyte? Somebody should be able to tell me this. All right, Derek, what do you think, bud? A plant that what? Okay, a gametophyte is a plant, okay, that has eggs and sperm. It's haploid, correct? A gametophyte is haploid, you should have. Now, what is a sporophyte? What is a sporophyte? Jillian, what's a sporophyte? All right, so this sporophyte, the sporophyte produces spores, and these spores, okay, are haploid. They produce those spores through meiosis. They travel through the wind, okay, until they find a suitable substrate, and then they can turn into a new plant. So we're talking about sporophyte, we're talking about gametophyte, and this whole thing is alternations of generations. Have you ever heard that term? Have we gone over that yet? If we haven't talked about alternation of generations, we will in the coming days. Now, we're going to label this guy right here, and we're going to start off with up at the middle right here, okay? Now, why are we starting at the middle there? Because this is the sporophyte that we just talked about. So this entire stalk from right here up is what we call the sporophyte stage. Okay? Now, what is that sporophyte made of? What is a sporophyte made of? Well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to do the gametophyte. So we'll do the two alternation of generations first of all. So this top part with the stalk is the sporophyte. These little leaf-like, and I call them leaf-like because they're not leaves, they're leaf-like. We'll give them a name here coming up. But these little leaf-like things at the bottom, this whole part in the brackets is the gametophyte. So from here down is the gametophyte, from here up is the sporophyte of this particular plant. Now, let's talk about these gametophytes. I told you we're going to give a name to these little leaf-like projections. Phyllids. Okay? These are the phyllids. Now, what are those little things down at the bottom here? What do you think? The R word, what is the R word? Rhizoids. Okay, remember they're root-like. They're root-like structures. And remember with these things, folks, we talked about how they need to be very close to the ground. Why do they need to be very close to the ground? So they can get water and nutrients. Remember, they do not have the tubes necessary, the xylem and the phloem, to transfer anything up or down. So they have to be pretty close to the ground. Okay? So the makeup of this gametophyte here is the phyllids and the rhizoids. Now let's look up here at the sporophyte. Okay? The sporophyte. We're going to talk about this top part, which is the capsule. The capsule. When Jillian told us about the sporophyte stage, she said something about a sporangia, right? The sporangia is where the spores are made, okay? Where the spores are made, and then they are expelled out of this capsule. So all these little black dots that I'm seeing right here represent spores. Okay? Those little black dots represent those spores. As we said before with the sporophyte stage, those spores travel through the wind until they find a substrate that is presentable. The spores will then be in that substrate and start to grow into a new plant. Okay? So the whole like a moss bit. These moss plants are growing up as so. They get rid of these spores in the sporophyte stage and grow into new plants. Okay? Now, vascular plants, this will be starting tomorrow. Okay? Let me see, starting Monday. Let me see real quick just to show you if I can get on and find us a picture here real quick by Googling it and find a moss that looks something like this. So let me get here. So right here is our moss. Let me see if I can find any images of, real images of this. These look like they're all out of books. Like the actual plant. Right, here we go. Okay, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, that really didn't help me very much. Okay, let me go back. We'll get a better one than that. Right here. Maybe. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, picture? Never mind. But look at this. You can see the green parts down here. Okay, the little green parts down here are the gametophytes that we talked about. See the phylloids, the little leaf-like things? These little stalks sticking up with the capsule are the sporophyte stage. So the gametophyte and the sporophyte. So if you find these mosses at the right time, you can see these little stalks with the capsules on them. Okay? At that time, those capsules are getting ready to break open. When they break open, they'll release the spores. And here's another picture of some moss here. And see the stalk and the capsules. Okay? So they'll release those spores and turn those into new moss plants. Okay?